Today we're going to be talking about present and present continuous verb forms. The information in this video can be found in your book in chapters 1, 2, and 3. This presentation shows the formulas of present, past, and future verb forms when we talk about the perfect and perfect continuous forms. First, let's look at present perfect. The information about present perfect can be found in your book on page 5. Now, this form shows a connection between how something that happened in the past is related or connected to the present. Now, how we make this sentence, we're going to use the formula have or has plus the past participle. So, I have a sentence here, and it says, I have just visited China. I know a lot of Chinese words right now. So here's my have, and here's my past participle. Another example is, he has written 30 pages of the book. So here's my has, and here's my past participle. Now, what these sentences mean is that I have been visiting China. Okay, maybe I just returned, and now I know a lot of Chinese words. This sentence means that a man has been writing a book, and so far he has written 30 pages. Now, this form shows that activities were recently completed. They can answer questions like how much or how many times. Now, in the present perfect, we're not going to use time markers like last year or last night or for 2 years. Now let's look at the present perfect continuous. This is used to show how something that happened in the past is connected to the present. It is used to show that an activity started in the past and continues up until the present. Okay, so this is showing a continuous activity in the present, and that activity started sometime in the past. Now, the present perfect continuous answers the question, how long? And you can add time expressions to this form. Now, stative verbs are not usually used with the present perfect continuous. Let's look at some more examples of present perfect continuous. The formula for this form is have or has plus been plus a base verb plus ing. So if I say I have been visiting China, so I am learning a lot of Chinese words. So here's my have been, here's my base verb plus ing. Now, this means I am still making trips to China and continue to learn Chinese. But this means I am not necessarily in China right now. I also have this sentence. He has been writing a book. So here's the has and here's the been. Here's writing, so my base verb plus ing. And this means he is still writing it or has just completed it. And finally, here's a sentence with a time expression. I have been reading this report for 2 hours. So here's my have and here's my been. Here's my base verb reading, read plus ing. And then here's my time expression. Now let's look at the past perfect. The information for this can be found on page 23. The past perfect form has 2 parts. The first part shows an earlier activity, and the second part shows a later activity that is connected to the first activity. This form is used with the words when, by the time, although, and even though. Now the book says that we can start a sentence with because. Now I wouldn't do this. This would, if you want to use because, you would have to use it in the second part of the sentence. Now let's look at some examples. The formula for the past perfect is going to be had plus the past participle plus the simple past. So I could say the news had already spread by the time she arrived. So here's my first part, and here's my second part with a time expression. So here's the had plus the past participle, and then you're going to use the simple past in the second part. So once again, here's my had, past participle, and simple past. This means that there was a piece of news and people found out about the news before the girl arrived. Here's another example. We had been there for a month, so we decided to leave. Here's my had, here's my past participle, and there's my simple past. This means that we are on vacation somewhere. We have been there for a month, but now we are ready to leave or go home. Now here's another example. Due to the fact that he hasn't traveled very much, he was nervous about his trip. Now this answers the question, how much had he traveled? The answer is not very much. Now let's look at the past perfect continuous. We use this form when we talk about two events in the past. The first event uses had been plus your base verb plus ing. Now the second event is an interruption or a result of the first event. And for the second event, the formula is simple past verb. Here are some examples. He had been traveling for a week when his car broke down. Okay, this shows that an event was occurring in the past when something interrupted it. So the car broke down is the interruption. So the second part is the interruption here. Had been traveling means the man was doing this action when the interruption occurred. And once again, the interruption is that his car broke down. Now, in this form, you can also switch the second event and the first event. So I could say she had been writing the novel when I met her. So here's my had, and here's my past participle. Okay, and here's my continuous, base verb plus ing. And then here's the second part, when I met her. So here's the past verb. But I can switch this and say, when I met her, comma, she had been writing the novel. So both of these would be correct. Now let's talk about future perfect and future perfect continuous. Now these two forms are very similar. They both have two parts. They both show a time relationship between two future situations. Now both forms use time clauses in the second part, and the time clauses that are used are by the time or when. Now the future perfect continuous is a little different. It shows that the first part was ongoing and often incomplete. First, let's look at future perfect. The formula is going to be will or be going to plus have plus your past participle. Okay, so the sentence in purple will, have, past participle of lived, and then here's my time clause. So the sentence is, she will have lived at her house for 2 years by the end of the summer. Now I've separated the first part and the second part so you can see the time clause here. Now, what does this sentence mean? This sentence means that a girl moved into her house in the summer of 2012, and when the summer of 2014 comes, she will have lived in the house for 2 years. Okay, this also can be used if we don't know if the girl will continue to live at her house. Maybe the girl will move in the summer of 2014 after being at the house for 2 years. Here's some more examples of future perfect. The class will have read most of the book when they see the play. So here's my will and have. Here's my past participle. Here's my time clause with when. Okay. This means the class started to read a book. They've almost finished reading the book, and now they're going to see a theater play that is based on the book they have been reading. Okay. So they have not finished the book yet when they go to see the play. Another example, we will have finished the meeting by the time he gets here. This means that the man arrived after the meeting was over, or in other words, the man missed the meeting. Now let's look at the future perfect continuous. The formula is will or be going to plus have been plus your base verb plus ing. So I could say she will have been living at her house for 2 years by the end of the summer. Because I have been living here, it's going to be, that's the difference between this sentence and when you compare it to the future perfect form. And this sentence means that the girl will probably continue to live at the house after the summer of 2014. Now if we go back here, remember, she will have lived at her house for 2 years by the end of the summer. Future perfect is when we don't know if someone is going to continue to do something. But with a future perfect continuous, the person probably will continue to do something in the future. Let's look at the example of reading a book. They will have been reading the book for a week when they see the play. This means that they are not almost finished with the book. They have just started reading the book. Okay, they've been reading the book for just 1 week. And this means the class goes to see a theater play that is based on the book, even though they just started reading the book. Remember, in the future perfect form, the class is almost finished reading the book. But in the future perfect continuous form, they are not almost finished. They have just started to read the book. If I say we will have been meeting all morning by the time he gets here, this means that the meeting is not over. The meeting is still going on. We are having a meeting and then the man arrives at the meeting. And this also means the man is late for the meeting. Remember, in the future perfect form, the man arrived after the meeting had ended. And that's the end of this video.